Life Fixers. Hope you're having an awesome day. Are you ready to better understand yourself, your partner, and your marriage? Today, we've got a really interesting guest here. I asked David if he can come on together with his wife, Julie, and sure, no problem, except Julie didn't really know about it. David tricked Julie into us, and it takes some time until Julie actually comes on in here and gets to share us, but ends up sharing a lot. So you are going to love this episode, the space that we created in this episode, the energy that's in here between the three of us. And I know that you're going to learn about yourself. As you listen to Julie and David, I want you to think about yourself and how this relates to you. So that way you could actually take action and apply it in your own life. Also, if there is something in this episode that you like and you think there's somebody else that will benefit from it, right away, hit share and send it to that person while you're listening. You don't even have to press pause. So that way they will benefit from it too. Okay, so you want to start, David, by telling us, or maybe Julie's going to chime in and tell us how you guys met.
Hold on. I'll start the story. We'll see what comes out. This is beautiful because look, as I was telling it, Esty, I was telling her how much I love, this beautiful love affair I have with my wife. I said, it's still not the Disney princess stuff. I mean, we have our moments, including this one, but you get a picture of what real life is like. So how do we meet? I was the welcoming ambassador to we have daughters that are, as Julie said off camera, Esty, that are like 10 days apart. They're both 20 years. They're both 20 years old now. And I was the welcoming ambassador for my daughter's 7th grade Waldorf class. And I'd found that as much as I thought the Waldorf would be a tremendously welcoming environment, it really wasn't. And I said, hey, I'm going to make sure that new families that come in don't have to go through the same kind of growing pains that I did. So, I raised my hand and said I'd be the ambassador. And I had 4 names on a spreadsheet, and Julie was one of them. And I called her. And we had a conversation, and I'm sure you and I, it's kind of like you and I, we just got on this thing. It's like it's energetic, but what happens is I go a little deeper, or maybe I should, because I'm going high, I should use the right metaphor, the right terminology. I went higher and she'd go higher. And she met me, and I go higher and she'd still go higher. Or if you want to go this way, I'd go deeper and she'd go deeper. And it kept going on and on and on. And normally what happens, it's at some point you look around and say, what the hell am I doing? I don't know who this person is, They're going to put this all on social media that but she never backed down. And it was especially strange because this with people, whatever it is, whether, opposite sex, for in our case, it's like that gets a little dicey. There's a whole bunch of games and wounds and machinations that come in when you do that. And I was so impressed when I got off the phone with her. And I mean, look, just from talking, we go deep fast, as Julie said on my video. It doesn't take long. If you don't want to go deep, hang up the phone. But it was still it was striking in that. And when I got off the phone, I was divorced, and I had been, I didn't realize is another thing that Julie had thrown the cloak of invisibility over me. So in the 4 years between my divorce and Julie, another woman would look at me. And so I was kind of, frustrated and a little bit, I had a lot of self-doubt. So I said, oh, wow, this is good. I wonder what she looks like. And, I looked on Facebook, oh, shoot, she's cute, So Mom putting points together because that's what we do. So anyway, that starts. And she was actually coming. She was living in Asheville, North Carolina. I live in Chapel Hill, and it's about 3.5 hours. She was moving her family to this area. So she was separated from her husband, and she was moving here to go to school. And I finally got to meet her, and I was excited. And we went and we met for lunch, and there was zero chemistry. This is the beautiful part I love about this story. Well, there's many parts, but this is because people just think you have all these ideas, love at first sight, and, do this. And I was really disappointed. I was like, oh, damn, just wish there was a spark here, but there wasn't. So we just settled into being friends what I would call spiritual friends. And I was also, because I'm still a licensed attorney, I don't practice much, but she had some issues, and I was able to, help her, blah, blah, blah. So then a few weeks later, I am in Denver, Colorado. I'm in Colorado on a board meeting, and we start talking. as what we were. And something happened on the phone, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was a different kind of thinking of Beauty and the Beast, something that wasn't there before. Going back to the Disney princess stuff. And I just, it was something different in the tone, and I was happy. I was like happy with no good reason. Remind me, I want to tell you no good reason because it's a good story too, Julie, that I think might be helpful to people. And I said, okay, wow, this is really interesting. And then it was time to get off and start the board meetings. But through the whole board meeting, we're looking at spreadsheets, and and I'm just, it's like some guy looking at porn, but instead of looking at, no one wants to see. So I'm texting her and I'm emailing her. My total attention is on her, and everyone else thinks I'm part of this meeting. And this went on all day, and it went on into the evening, and then it was clear something was unfolding that we didn't know what it was. And so, as a typical guy, and I guess there's probably, I reacted as a guy, but I'm sure this crossed, gender lines. I'm thinking, wait a minute, she's a friend. And, I'm sure we've all had situations where we took the wrong signals and it's embarrassing, and you can wreck a friendship that way. I don't want to wreck a friendship, but it was unmistakable that something was opening up. And the next day I was on the phone with her. I was just constantly with her at the airport. I'm with her, waiting to get on the plane. I'm with her, and I know it's almost undeniable. Something has happened. We are now, and sometime, Esty, when we hang out, I'll show you. We have the text exchanges from that day, and it's like really, it's beautiful, just beautiful stuff. And because it's you, and because you've got, anyway, I'll be happy to share them with you if she says it's okay. But anyway, but then here's something happened that I really think is instructive for everyone who's watching and listening, because this is so typical. I was such an idiot that I say that lovingly, because I was like everyone else. I have a tender heart. I didn't want to get hurt. I didn't want to hurt anybody else. So I had doubts. And what happened is when I got on a plane, I got 4 hours on a flight from Denver to Raleigh for my fears to kick back in again and to start thinking. I'm thinking, wait a minute, what's going on? And it broke. The spell was broken. And then what happened is, for the period of time, those 2 days before, my love was greater than my fear. And so I was able to overcome my resistance and my concerns and my, whatever, my second thoughts, my second guesses. And then the fear was greater than the love. And I had built this whole crazy thing. Oh, you're just being an idiot. You've done this before. Beating myself up and talking myself out of this gift that life was giving me. And so when I got off the plane and I'm talking on the phone, and she says, I'm back in my apartment, and she says, why do you think that people always thought we were more than friends? And what she was saying was, it must have been obvious to everybody but us that we were together. But me, being the paranoid, whatever the hell thing I was, she's saying, oh, why would you think we were more than friends? All right. You see how how life just played this out so beautifully? Because now I went into this FUD, I just, oh my God. And I'm looking at the text exchange. I read it, just tears my heart up. But then finally she just, God bless her. She just reached in there after me and said, "To hell with that." No, this isn't where you're staying. And actually she told me she had a picture of us later being together, and that's what she was talking about and what that would look like. And then, so that's 2 days. Then day 3, you ask one question. It doesn't take much to get me going. Talking about Julie. It's like, wow, I wonder if there's chemistry now. This has all been long distance. Okay. So, and I was waiting for her after she took her daughter and son to school, and we were kissed, and then we knew there was chemistry. And the beautiful way that Julie tells the story is that we didn't fall in love. Our love was revealed. And that is a big difference. And then there's one more thing I want to say. Now you got me started. I mean, goddamn, I am definitely like this is giving booze to an alcoholic. I got so much in there first. What was I going to say? All right. What was the last thing I said? I told you I never know what's coming.
We didn't fall in love, but our love was revealed.
Yes. But this is important. This is important. Like that I want, and I would hope this would stick in people's head. That what became clear, oh my God, she's here. The one behind. No, I told her about her love being revealed.
I have to get.
She's so beautiful. So anyway, is that what we were, and there's a lot more to this story, which, if we come back on later, because there's parts of it that are truly divine, even beyond our divine love, is the instruction that we got, or the wisdom that we got, was our love was eternal. Nothing could skip with it. And I feel this about her. I just feel like, no, there's no, just to take a quick detour, as you know, from saying I was just into deep spiritual digging for decades. And when I finally had an immersion in consciousness, I looked for the edges of consciousness and I couldn't find them. And that's how I knew it was eternal. I was infinite. I looked for the edges. I looked for the edges of my love for Julie. I can't find them. The same way that I had this divine, whatever you want to call it, moment of seeing the consciousness, and we are infinite. My love is infinite. So nothing can change that. But at the same time, the word we have is our love is precarious, meaning we could screw it up in this lifetime if we wanted to. So you have an eternal love that never ends, that's inviolable, nothing can do it. And at the same time, we could just choose to mess it up in this lifetime. And living with that sobriety, that ease and that sobriety at the same time, is really kind of the magic formula. So how is that for answer to a first question? Not bad? We keep going, or you had enough of me?
Yes. No, I'm like, there's so many more details to that story. I want to hear more of them. First of all, curious, how did you know at what point, like you said in the beginning, there was no chemistry. What do you think was the thing that switched that now there was?
I would, Julie will be here in a sec, because I did pop this on her and didn't realize that we were here, both be honest. And, good, because she can, I want you to ask her, because she has a better answer than I would just quote her.
Yeah. So I asked David earlier, he mentioned that the first time you met, there was no chemistry, but then obviously there was later on with where you are today. What do you think it was the thing that helped make it go from no chemistry to yes?
Well, I think the answer for me is really practical, but it may not sound practical. I think the door opened to our love. And I'm sure he told that as part of the story. But before that, we just thought we were friends. And so there was no chemistry. But once that door opened and we stepped through it and we walked into our love fully formed, that's my experience of it. I know it sounds weird, but that is 100% my experience of it. Is that we walked through, like we stepped across some kind of portal, and there was our love fully formed, revealed to us. Like we knew at that moment that we would spend the rest of our lives together. There was no dating period and romance period. It was like we walked into this ancient thing that pre-existed us. And in that space, there was chemistry.
Yeah. When we drop our old thought processes and what we think and what we see, and then coming in and just accepting what's in front of us.
Yes.
Really.
And that was part of it too, because, I can say this and it may sound weird to people and it may sound like, well, this couldn't have happened. This doesn't happen. But we were experiencing the same thing, we were like, wait, is this really happening? Is what we think is happening actually happening? And, we had a little bit of disbelief too, but it's our experience. After a while, you can't really doubt your own experience of something. I look outside and there's snow on the ground. And if I go out, it's freezing cold. That's my experience. And even though my mind might have certain ideas about it, that's the reality.
Yeah, exactly. So
that was our reality.
Question if you're going to push that reality away, or you're actually going to take it and open and move forward with it.
That's exactly the choice that we had. And we knew we could do either.
And you got married right away?
No.
So you're going to get two sides. Good. She's doing great. She's got to make up for equal time.
No, but one part of that is very soon after this, after our love was revealed on, depending how we look at it, September.
I gave her the 3-day litany.
Yeah. David said to me one day, and it was probably a week later, maybe 2 weeks at the most later, he said, you think we'll get married? Because we knew this was forever. And then it's just, do we want to actually get married or not? Like this. And in that space, when you're in the space of eternity, marriage just doesn't really feel important.
I'm having so much fun just listening to her talk about how much she loves me too. This is great. We're going to just sit back and you guys have a hell of a conversation going on.
Because he doesn't get to hear me talk like this very often.
Nope.
No, you don't talk about him like that.
Well, I don't have a platform like this for one. I don't get, I don't. Plus,
And you don't stay up late, not going to sleep, telling him how much you love him.
No. He doesn't need much sleep. You could probably tell by his personality type. He's like a 5-hour-a-night person. I'm like a lounge in bed, get my 9 hours of sleep and then lounge for a couple more hours.
So back to getting married. Go. Do you want to finish the Mara thing? Should I pick it up or do you want to
go ahead?
So I think the eternity part is there. And then, but it's like what I think comes through this whole thing. Like when I said that our love was eternal, but precarious, that I live in a heaven on earth. That's not a Disneyland. So it's like, do we get married? Who cares? I care.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it still has implications. And for us, I mean, I think one of the biggest thing was we had a family to blend that wasn't very blendable. And, it would just felt very frustrating because it's funny. I have a trail of 3-month and 6-month leases because I said, I'll move in here for 3 months and then we'll get married, and I was like the wandering Jew, I just picked up my tent and went to the next oasis, and I really wanted to get married. There was something about that was important to me for good reasons and no good reasons. And I think one of them was I just wanted to secure. I said, I want to give you 15 kids and then I know you'll never leave me, So I just wanted to put that ring on her finger and that would make me feel more secure. But there was also something because it just traditionally who I am, just, being someone from that era that had meaning to us.
And as much as we stepped into this place of our love and, eternity, our children did not.
That was really well said. I set you up beautifully.
They did not. They didn't automatically just come along on our coattails and be like, oh, this is great. No, it took my children a year, 2 years? When was my 50th birthday after? Yeah, 2 years. 2 years. And then they fell in love with him, after 2 years, the threshold for them that they crossed was my 50th birthday. And David planned with them this elaborate affair. And just through the planning, they got to know him a little bit. They opened up to him a little bit because, he welcomed them in and welcomed their ideas. Then they started to let their guard down and by the end of it, they were in love with him and they adore him. With his daughter, we haven't crossed that threshold yet. And it's been a way different, but she didn't hold us back from going ahead and getting married. My kids live with us. She lived with her mom.
And there's another part to this because there's also a very simple explanation or whatever, which is that, they have, the one thing about Julie, she's a phenomenal mother is just, it's not, doesn't cover it, but she has a phenomenal relationship with the kids. And one of the things, a great deal of respect and openness. And what they love most was Julie would ask them, what are you up to when we're planning this? And what did they get to say?
You have to tell.
None of your business. For the first time in their life, they could tell their mom it was none of their business. And I think that was crossing the threshold. Like, oh my God, look what our life could be like now with David. We could tell our mom it's none of our business.
Yeah. All of a sudden they teamed up with you and not like,
yes,
it's not really against Julie, it's for Julie. But like, it's like that process, that building together.
And if too, just one thing is kind of interesting too, and I don't know what your audience liked and how, but for people looking to blend families or with whatever, is that, like I noticed with that, it was because we were working together, physically working together. And one of the things that with Ashton, my stepson, is that I watched, he started baseball. We'd throw the ball together And I would think, oh, there's a rhythm. And I could feel the rhythm back and forth. We'd walk the dogs together. I'd march in cadence with him. So there's something just very practical. And, this is all, beautiful cosmic relationship, but there's just very practical things of literally just side by side, starting to let the physicality of love and relationship bond as well.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Like, if you think of it like in the business aspect and like all those so-called like team building workshops and things, then you're doing something together to build that relationship. So here it wasn't so formal and probably a whole lot more fun, but really.
I want to put one more thing in and turn it back over, which is that I have our relationship is phenomenal with my stepchildren. I mean, it is something. And they, like when we told them we were getting married, we had this big thing. We went out to our favorite restaurant and we went and we told them, it was like, we might as well have told them, hey, guess what? We're moving into a homeless shelter, It was like.
And that was a few years later.
That was even later. They
already loved him, but they didn't get it.
But the one piece, it's funny, one piece of advice, I remember we were to one of Ashton's first practices, Little League practice, and there was a guy there, and he wasn't particularly, he was just a real down to earth kind of guy. And we were talking and we were out in the field, helping with the kids. And I told him, he said, when I started, he said, my stepdaughter didn't like me. She goes, but I just kept loving her and I wore her down. And I think that was just my strategy. I was just going to keep loving them and wearing them down.
And this same man, I'll add to that, also told the experience of himself as the child with his mother remarrying. And he said he hated that man. And he spent years and years just resenting him and wishing he wasn't in the house and really disliking him. And then he grew up and he realized that this man so loved his mother and modeled for him this deep love and respect for his mother. And he was the beneficiary of that. And by this time he had stopped hating him. He grew up and he became accepting of this man. But eventually he had this whole different perspective and realized what a gift he had been given right in front of his eyes. And he couldn't appreciate it because of the age he was, the age and stage. But, he grew to have this lovely relationship with this man and really credited them for showing him the way,
And if I can, because right now, we have Ashton's 17, Isabella's 20, both of them in relationship. Ashton's having his first love. And it's beautiful to see. But one of the beautiful things is watching how just by being ourselves, we're modeling what relationship can look like. We don't have to say, oh, you shouldn't let her treat, whatever. It's just sometimes, it's instructive, but it's instructive because we can just speak from our experience. And there's ways that I am so in awe of him because I'm watching him just show maturity and respect and integrity, consistency, empathy, all these things, which I don't take credit for them. And yet I'm just so glad that it's consistent with what we are. And he's able to just by being ourselves, we're able to transmit that love and that culture and that space for him.
Yeah. It's super important to have that role model. And like people that don't have that role model afterwards have to go and find someone else to go and be their role model. So they got lucky that they have a man like you, even if they resented you in the beginning now.
Oh, I had to have a food taster here to make sure they weren't poisoned.
What was one thing you guys wish you knew before you got married?
Oh, before we got married or before we became an item?
She said got married.
Yeah, I want to make sure.
It was before you got married, but if you rather say something from like before you really got together, then just okay with that.
It's funny, you don't often stump the band like
we're both stumped.
What do we wish we knew? And let me just, it's like when I was a lawyer, I had to keep talking until I could think of a smart question to answer. So I'm just going to fill the space up here, do a few magic tricks. I think part of our relationship was that we knew it was doubtless. It didn't mean that we didn't have doubts or times saying, oh my God, we were just kidding that at the early on when we'd say, if I got to put up with this for the rest of my life, there's no way I can, So there's doubts, but I think with that love and the recognition of that love, there comes a knowing a capital K knowing that whatever comes, you'll be able to do it. So, looking at it like, okay, if I'd have known this, I guess, okay, so now I'll answer it. I wish that I could have known how much just being myself. I wish I could have known more deeply how just being myself was the greatest factor or a gift I could give to our marriage. I could have more quickly, less trying to be some idealized version of myself or who I thought I needed to be, and more quickly come. And I can't, that's happened. It's probably happened at its perfect pace. But I think if I could have talked to the Dave Gold I am now 7 years ago, that's the advice I would have given him.
I think part of the reason that I couldn't come up with anything, and listening to David helped clarify this for me. And I'm not just saying this because it sounds good. It's really just, as I go over it, it's my experience. I don't think I would have told myself anything, because everything that we've experienced since that decision, or since we met, or at any point in time that you might choose to put a thumbtack in, has been so important, because it's revealed something, that we needed to have revealed, or that was beneficial to us. It's shown us something about ourselves. It's shown us something about each other, our relationship, life, love, and I wouldn't want to deny myself that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think really, that's what I feel about relationship. Relationship isn't like, even as much as we talk about our relationship was fully like we stepped into it and there it was, but that's that's other dimensional. Like, we don't have the words for what that is. We don't even understand it ourselves. But here we are in these human bodies upon this earth. We haven't done this before, with these particular beings, these personalities. We haven't done this before. We're learning how to do it, and we're learning how to do it together. And it's just taken one step at a time. And there are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts.
Yeah, I think she's nailing it. And it sounds, like I said, I told you all these decades I was into formal spiritual work, and Julie can speak to herself in terms, but I was say her affinity and her love for God and love for the divine, and is, like everything in our relationship, it's equal. That there is something about just the unfolding of it. Of course, I wanted to know when do we get married? When are we moving in together? When am I, when this, when that? But there really, underneath all that, there's just like, wow, what is this going to bring? And so that's why it's like, going back and kind of doing the time travel is difficult. And it sounds really trite, but hopefully we've established enough credibility that we couldn't pull this off. We were just making it up as we were going along. But literally the last few days, she'll tell you, I get up and I just think I have another day of life here. And if this was not my last day on earth, because I don't like that, but if this was my only day on earth, what would I do? And that's like, I'm playing with that. I don't, it's fun. Maybe in 2 or 3 days I'll get sick of it and I'll forget to do it. But right now, that's what love is like. That's the love. Love is just like, here's a playground. Where are the swings? Where's the slides? Who's going to come join us in the playground today?
And also, where are the rocks that you don't see that are going to trip you up and make you fall down and skin your knees? Like, I want to round this picture out. I feel like the unfolding of our lives and our relationship within our lives is sacred. And it's like, I am a mother at my core. And it's like, would I white out my children's years of when they crawl because I want them to get up and walk and run? Absolutely not. No, you can't take anything away. You have to experience all of it. That's the growth. That's the progression. And that's our relationship. There are times when, yes, we run smack into the big boulders and we, fall and we're bloodied and battered and it feels yucky, but this is also the sacredness of relationship. And it molds us into, something better, something stronger. And it doesn't mean those times are easy, but, I've walked this path with David now for We're going on 8 years, 7.5 years. And I wouldn't take away those hard times. I really, really wouldn't, because I see that we come out of those different.
And now when you go through a hard, it's like way easier to say that afterwards, right? But when you're going through the hard time, what do you do to actually help yourself get through that hard time?
Well, this is an integral part of it, because without this, the hard times would feel unbearable. It is that I have the experience of our eternal love. I have the visceral knowing of our love fully formed and what that is. And I know that we can't screw it up. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't, that doesn't necessarily mean that we couldn't end up apart. We have to not ever forget the preciousness of what we have, and we have to treat it like the precious gemstone that it is. But some days we decide, forget this. I don't care if this gemstone is precious. You're getting on my nerves.
Let that gemstone go outside a little bit.
We have a little joke between us, because I have this personality type in relationship with people in general, where I can be like, because I have really good, clear boundaries. Let's just say clear rather than good, really clear boundaries. And for me, they're just clear. They're like black and white. And so we have this little joke that I'm like, off with your head. I'm done with you. Off with your head.
It's the Red Queen.
Yeah. And so we have those days where I'm like, off with your head. I don't want any more of you. But it's not poignant. It's not permanent. It's not real. It's not damaging. These are the personalities that we're working with.
So I have two things that I want, three, but I'll save the third for later. But the first one is first of all, it's just moments like this. I get up, I think I'm doing this by myself, and then you expecting both of us. I don't want to disappoint you. I know she's going to kill me because she hates this shit.
I know. I'm like thinking what's going to be your conversation afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. So I felt a pang of fear and guilt and shame and, disappointing you and unprofessional and all this other stuff. But look where we are now. This is so perfect. This is so precious. You've given us such a precious gift, this moment together. Never could have seen. Yeah. So you go through enough of these together and you hold that there's a little tiny space that you get your ears perked to the heavens and saying, is this, mom, my dead dad, God, whatever, is this a little gift you're giving me this morning that it didn't come gift wrapped?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
So that's one big piece of you, having enough of these kind of times. And then it becomes who you are. And sure, do I need reminders when she wants off of my head, or I want to go in my office and scream silently to myself, what the hell was I thinking of? Whatever it is. The other thing I want to mention.
Wait, I want to say something about that.
Go
on. But also, one thing I learned as a mother really early on, fortunately, is our kids can take our emotions. They could take our anger. They could take our frustration, our impatience, but they don't take punishment very well. Punishment is more harmful. So I learned early on, fortunately, that we don't punish our kids. Try not to punish your kids, but just let the natural consequences fall where they are. And it's so much easier for kids then to just kind of keep moving with it. It's the same in a relationship. Don't, like this morning with this screw up. Well, I'm not going to punish him for this. That's harmful. That can be harmful. You just got to let it go. Like David remarks sometimes that he is so astounded that I could be mad at my kids or frustrated or impatient in 1 minute, and then the next we are moving on like everything's fine. And that's what you have to do. Like, okay, so this thing happened, but I'm not going to be punishing about it. We're just going to move on. Like, make a decision and we're going to move on. And look at how beautifully we can move on. Like, really, this is something that we learn and we practice, and we don't always do it well, even 7.5 years later, but we have a choice in the next moment. How are we going to show up?
And the thing is, and this is the beautiful thing is, it's not just about us. Look at you. If we'd have just sit here and been pissy with each other or whatever, I'd have come in here and I'd have been all in my head. Oh, what am I doing? You wouldn't be having the experience you would be having. Your listeners and viewers would. It's not just about you. It's about what you're bringing out into the world. And so, and it's not, oh, we're going to do this for the sake of the whole, but it somehow informs you, and it just becomes a part of who you are, of recognizing this is the energy. And there's the second point I want to make before I forget is when you talk about what do you do in the tough times, and I'm going to share this, and I'll share it in a way that respects our privacy. But we had a tough time a couple of weeks ago, and things were building up, and we were just kind of dancing around it, and just like couples do,
couples who know better,
and have been through enough, come to the other side enough times. You're still on this side of it, and this side you can't see the other side, even though you know it's there. And Julie was the one who finally called bullshit. And it was hard. I didn't want to hear it at first. I was just thinking, stop talking. So I go back in my room and yell inside of my head how much. but
which he does.
And
we call it going into his corner.
Yeah, his corner. And my stepdaughter says that's when I got my head up my ass. So there's many metaphors for it. But and the other thing I want to see is that this is the thing about relationship. We can be really serious, but there's a lightness to it. All of that. Just because you're in love doesn't mean it's got to read like a Shakespeare tragedy all the time. But anyway, she called us to something higher. And it was amazing. It was like I said, that first conversation where I went higher and she went higher. She was vulnerable. I became vulnerable. She became vulnerable. Before you know it, we had this beautiful, wasn't even a reconciliation. It was just a remembrance. And that's what came out of, is that how you get through the tough times? What people call it tough times? I don't know. But I want to, one more thing, and then I'll turn it, because I'm just so enjoying this, is we're equals. And I have posited that there's a radical equality in this kind of love. And we're equals. And I was telling someone the other day, she's a hell of a lot better parent than I am, and I'm better at making money than she is. So being equal doesn't mean that you have all your skill sets are there, but there's just a way that there's a radical equality. You can feel it here in the way we're responding. It's not just respectful of each other's times and playing off each other. No, I hear her, and there's something, and I would say that's a tip off when you have a discrepancy and you don't feel that, then that's a time to just reflect, and to also just hold out to people that this radical equality is such a beautiful place. Things have a way of evening out, and the best of each of us coming to the forefront to bring what's needed in a relationship.
Well, it's so beautiful. So very beautiful. You guys really know how to take the everyday life that becomes so challenging and turn it into such a beautiful thing, so people don't get caught up in those challenges and don't continue dancing, like you said, and just dancing until they are completely separated, but really know what life is, know the beauty of life and what actually has to happen in order for it to happen. And you work so hard on it, and it shines through in your relationship. You see it really clearly.
And I just want to point out your vulnerability and your presence right now is what's helping, is creating the field for this to happen.
Yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge how genuine and how available and just how sweet, if I can use that word without sounding patronizing, you are. And I just think everybody who's listening is just lucky to have you making stuff like this happen.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a really bit about the space that we create, right? You said that with going deeper and deeper. As you go deeper, you're creating a space for the other person to go even deeper. So you do that really well. And together we get a conversation like this. So I love this. And I could go on forever, but these episodes have to end at some point. So before I get to my final questions, I want to know if there's anything else specific you wanted to share.
Well, I do actually want to share one more thing, because it's playing off of something David just said and what you just said too. I think a lot of us human beings spend much of our lives kind of trying to insulate ourselves from life, because life can be painful, and we all have painful times and challenges and traumas. And then we kind of build up this insulation, and I'm speaking this from personal experience. I don't have the ass kicked out of it, to quote David, but I am so much more clear about, I see it so much more clearly, and I can move within it so much more clearly. There's something really to be said for just embracing the human experience and to quit having these ideas about what we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to be feeling, what we're supposed to be thinking and not feeling, not thinking, and just be okay with what's happening right now. And that is at the microcosm and the macrocosm. It's what's happening in my heart, like what I'm feeling, what my emotions are, what's happening in my brain, what's happening in my body. Am I tired? Am I sick? Am I energetic? And what's happening in our lives. And just it's the act of surrender. And everything benefits from that. Every aspect of our lives benefit from that. The more we can just be okay with what's happening. And you witnessed that this morning. So David comes up to me and says, you're going to, this is grounds for divorce. She thinks that we're both on the podcast this morning. But like, do you see, Esty? This is what was happening in my now.
Yeah.
Like it, and I'm old enough and I have enough life experience now that I can go, oh, okay, well, how do I want to look at this? And of course, it's really just about intuition, because my brain can make up 1,000 scenarios in an instant. But my intuition, though, like, oh, okay, well, this feels like there's a gift in this. And then I can make I make a decision based on that. And, just to kind of wrap it up, I think everything's easier, including relationships, when we can just be okay with how we feel and how our partner feels. Just accept it. It's not bad. None of it's bad. We're human. We're everything. We're all everything. And when we compartmentalize, we really do ourselves a disservice. And then everything suffers. Our relationships with our beloveds, our relationships with our kids, it all, our relationships with ourselves suffer. And there's just this beauty in this radical acceptance of what is.
And I'm going to, that's like they say in vaudeville, never follow a dog act or a kid act. I got to follow this animal act here. How the hell am I going to? Right. But I something just became really clear. Two things as we're talking. So Julie and I actually, when after our love was revealed and people would come up to us, literally in airports, or they said, "What do you got? What do you guys?" And we started a little thing called Love Disruptors, and disrupting people's old ideas around love. And we couldn't manufacture conditions where people could have our, what we found, but we could help them rid themselves of the ideas that prevent them from doing that. That's something we all have the capacity to do. And it's always it's always our ideas. I think it's generally our ideas get in the way. Just like today's a perfect example that for Julie had ideas. I don't have I can't bring my A game before 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't like to be thrust into situations. I don't like this. All these ideas about this. And then here she is fully, you see her brilliance and her beauty and her depth and all the things that she didn't think she could bring because she had the idea that she couldn't do them. So that idea got, like she's modeling in real time for all of us. Like, oh, forget it. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me I'm not ready for love. I still got this wart. I still leave the toilet seat up or whatever it is, and then, so that's the first piece. And then the second piece is, and I realize this for you, because you're just such a gift to us. You've given us such a gift today. Mm-hmm. And there's something there's a monastery that I became familiar with and spent some time in, and my daughter's actually named after. And one of the first time I went down there, when they talk about service, they don't go to lepers in Calcutta or anything like that. They said, our service is, we treat every visitor who walks in the door as if they're Jesus Christ. So how do you get around tying these together? How do you get around the ideas that you have that I can't do this and I can't do that? If you could literally, and I run this experiment every day, as Julie will tell you, the prime delivery man, the person I'm calling on the phone to cancel my cable, I don't care who it is, that if I treat them like they're a gift and wonder what the gift is you're bringing, that rewires around the ideas that I have. There's that, she calls it radical acceptance. It's just turning the jewel, or the radical love. If we look upon life that way, that every person in there is, what's the gift they're bringing us? Even if the gift is, like I had recently, some guy that was trying to screw us out of some money and I had to lawyer up to get him, it brought that back out of me. And, whatever that gift is, and that gets around the ideas. So don't let the ideas get in the way. Run the experiment of treating every person, SD Rappaport included.
Yeah, I got to experience it today by you.
So that's my last word. And
yes. Okay. So I've got a final question for you. But before I get to that, where could Life Fixers connect with you and learn more about you?
well, the best way to do it is still through my website, which is Dave Gold, DaveGold, DaveGold.com. And any part of this that goes, then we share everything. So if you're interested in us, Julie, me, whatever, any configuration or any aspect, and also you can email me at dave@davegold.com. And
amazing.
This is a resonance. And one thing I will say quickly is move while this moment's with you. It doesn't mean move to right me. I'm not trying to get people to buy now. They're like, we've opened up a field for people. And even if it's just, go up there and kiss your wife on the forehead and say you love her, or give your kids, whatever it is, somehow take this moment and do something with it. Human.
Yes. I like that. Not like, don't just hang up from this episode or whatever, press off and continue on to your day. I mean, you might be driving to work or something, but what could you take from this episode right now and go and actually apply it to your life? Okay. Final question. How would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using love, trust, and for you, I'm putting in eternity?
Jesus.
Did you use the word extraordinary relationship? Is that what you said?
Yeah, to describe an extraordinary relationship.
Real.
Effortlessly authentic.
Why are you sticking in effortlessly? Tell me more on that.
I was going to say, or even effortfully.
Right. Yeah.
Either, both.
Playing off. Do you want to go?
No, explain why you said effortless.
Well, there's a way that that's a better way to say it. I would say that's your authenticity becomes your North Star, it becomes your compass point. It becomes what you're attuned to. So when we first became an item, the divine wisdom we got or whatever it was, if there was a speck in the channel between us, you had to get you had to deal with the speck first. So there's an effortless authenticity, which is more like the attunement. That when there's something wrong with us, like a couple of weeks ago when Julie had to, call us to something higher, something deeper, that in a way, it took effort for her to do that. But the attunement, that's what was needed, because we're so attuned to authenticity and what's real between us, and we know when it's off. That's the effortlessness. So, yeah.
Another word I would use is everything. Every little bit of it.
In what way? In everything.
I mean, all the feelings, the ones we label as good, the ones we label as bad, all the thoughts, ideas, all the experiences. We benefit so much from stripping our lives of labels and compartments.
I would add the word unimaginable, which was kind of like almost a catchphrase for us, and something that Julie and I listen to just a brilliant, beautiful man called Panache Desai every morning. He does a meditation, and he said that everything you want resides in the unknown. So the deepest love we want is not something we can imagine. So this is unimaginable, and that is almost it's like a constant leap of faith you're taking.
Yeah.
And I was on a man's podcast the other day, and I said, what we men do is we spend our lives trying to make ourselves into something we think will attract the right woman. And that's all in our heads. That's all. I have an imagined sense of who I'm going to be, an imagined sense of who that person's going to be that I attract. Like Julie, we were talking to the kids the other day about our types. Julie said, I like really tall men. But I married this little guy, this little fellow, who could have imagined that would be her,
forever love.
Yeah, her first love was a foot taller than I. A foot taller than I used to be.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Julie and David, for being here, especially you, Julie. I know how excited you were for doing this. I really appreciate it.
You have given us a great gift. Yeah. And really, I just want to acknowledge also that had I walked in here and you had been a different person, I might have walked right back out. So it's it's the synergy of the three of us that, the space that we created together was something that allowed me to come and be here spur of the moment before 10 a.m.
Very well said. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Esty.
That's all for this episode of the Life Picks University podcast, but I have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support the show, but will also help the people you love most. We are striving for 1 million downloads by the end of 2025, and we can't do this without your help. If you love this episode, please share it with 2 of your family and friends so they too can rewire their brains to have an extraordinary marriage. It was awesome spending time with you, and I'll see you on the next episode.